Hey UI UX and product designers, 42% of your users are dropping off because of your user flow is not mapped properly in your applications. Let's say if you're working in an e-commerce industry, if you're working in a SaaS based companies where designing dashboards, you need to understand this topic called user flow mapping. If you're not able to do it, more than two steps your user will not be able to enjoy your application. They end up uninstalling. More than 50 to 60% of the user don't come to the application second time because of this confusion which is not clear from the designer side itself. In this video, we are going to see what exactly designers has to do, what is mean by this user flow mapping, what are the significance of it, and how you can use this in your portfolio to get hired faster. With this context, let's jump into the topic. Welcome, guys. Welcome. I'm super happy to meet you here in this video. Happy to say that we are in the day two and we are in 100 days, 100 skills challenge, and more importantly, I'm taking the entire human body and I'm explaining you the full concept of how the entire human body can be exactly mapped like skeletal, muscular, endocrine, cardiovascular, and I'm relating the design topics towards it. Okay, in this week we are in the day two. We are going to see something very interesting in our human body. Okay, so the first day we saw about information architecture, which is the ultimate skeletal system of our human body. Today we are going to see something called user flow. I'll tell you why this user flow is very important. User flow is the nervous path of a product. How many of you agree this? Type yes in the chat box if you agree this. If your user flow is not mapped properly, it's same like how the neurons are running inside your body in order to create a wonderful, meaningful functionality out of you. The product also really sustains when your user flow is mapped properly and you also guide the users from point A to point B easily. If you're not able to do it, then the user get confused. Then the user loses the interest in your products and app. You end up making the user frustrated. Okay, Jagdish, what is this exact concept about? This is all about charting out the user's path, making in your application or website or anything to understand his thought process and your thought process and putting it into a paper or a chart or a flow diagram, anything. This is called mapping of the user's flow. User flow involves something like, and I'll give you an example. Like, let's say if a user is signing up, he's making a transaction or maybe editing their profile. What are the series of steps he's going through? Let's say if you're going through a Google map, okay, it shows you a direction. It decides the points, like let's say where you wanted to go and what are the possible from to end, where you wanted to go from to the end point. And each and every box, each and every option and click is an action, right? And each and every arrow is a movement or a trigger which is going to navigate you. It's same like how the neurons are also guiding you inside the body. So the history about this particular topic is user flow diagrams came from largely during the 90s, where the human centric design and cognitive ability were being studied in research laboratories. The user experience terminology came a little later, but the point is, this predominant topic of understanding the user's psychology and cognition has been predominantly there large amount of time, where interaction designers needed it to explain screens to logic to the developers and clients. Particularly when you take example of Apple, where Don Norman was a behavioral scientist who was interested in developing the user interactions for these products and services. During that point of time itself, the word user interface was becoming very predominant. In order to make the interactions more meaningful, designers and cognitive scientists have come up with these terminologies in order to map the user flow very carefully so that they can build the product what the users needs. Based on this, the way in which the UI UX field has drifted in a far more different way. The depth of understanding of the product and the user has become more extensive because of these terminologies. You should be definitely thanking the people whoever has did this in the past. It evolved from the task analysis, a method used in software engineering and human computer interaction in 1980. Just now I said. So while people are making a task analysis, okay, what is mean by task analysis is like, let's say if I take this remote, if I change the light, this is a task, right? If I change it back to white, this is a task. So for me, the task involves taking up this product, interacting with it, deciding something in the mind. I want to change the light. I want to see the button where it is, and I want to recognize that this is interactable, and then I'm taking the action, and then I'm getting the feedback, and then I'm keeping it. So whatever step involved is called a task analysis. Mainly, this user flow is involved in the task analysis process. What are the tasks exactly your user goes through? What are the micro steps which the user is going through while he is designing the product? I mean, while he's using the product. And the designer who is designing this has to understand this. Either the designers can do on their own and understand, or they can also understand in a particular context where it has been predominantly used by the user. I hope this is a little clear for you. It became very popular in 2000s, where agile teams needed faster UX tools than wireframes. Yes, this is the most important thing. The product development has accelerated a lot after the Millennium Order happened. So tools, frameworks, methods have become inevitable. So the user flow mappings has become like a benchmark in all the industries. Let's say IBM, like let's say Atlassian, Google. I can show that in the slide. So these people needed this process and a framework to build something solid on top of their product. You can read these books like with respect to Don't Make Me Think by Steve Krug. It's an amazing book. You can also read this book called Design of Everyday Things. This is recommended for all the designers who are starting. So the point here is our understanding will develop a lot when we sensitize more with the designers who have already gone through this process. About Face by Alan Cooper. I have not read this book, but it is suggested it is good. A UX book by Hartson and Pila. So you can make a note of it. So each and every concept when you're learning, you need to also reference it on how it has been built. Okay, now let's understand why this skill is playing this major role. See guys, it avoids unnecessary screens and clicks and confusion, and it is not making your user any errors. Also, it is used to build a better focus for a smaller level product for testing, because industries cannot be able to do a larger investment on testing where this kind of a user flows can be used in order to understand what kind of a errors are happening before, so that we can take it into consideration before we build a big product. It explains the design logics in the interview, particularly if you're attending any interviews or if somebody is asking you to present your projects. So this user flow can make you explain very clearly what has made you to design this particular interaction, a button, a radius, a color, a gradient, an interact, something like that. It also effectively collaborates with the designer, and more importantly, designers features that actually get used. So without it, designers often build visually attracting screens, but the user experience is completely missing. It's completely broken. So that is why the skill is very important. See, the main confusion what many designers has, no, they confuse this user flow with user journey. Journey is different, flow is different. Flow is something which is connected. Journey is not connected. Journey can be random. Journey can be anything. You can also connect the journey later, but now we are discussing about the flow, because when something happens in a flow, then only you'll see the output and the result. For building a product as a UI UX designer, you need to understand mapping the flow of the user is very vital to have an understanding before you building the products in wireframe. In fact, tomorrow we are going to see wireframe. Before that, I wanted you to understand the user flow is the ultimate vitality of your journey for your users to be mapped. I hope this confusion is clear. Think Figma screens, user flow. It's not. Figma screens and Miro screens or anything, whatever your interaction design is happening, that's not user flow. It is actually different. You tend to build the screen after you define the flow clearly. It's exactly ulta. That's a big confusion designers have. Many designers skip this user flow and jump directly into UI. Very normal. And don't test decision points or alternate paths. So many designers, when they're making a wireframes, ideation, and everything, they don't see the path how my user can easily go and connect here. How the flow can be optimized. Like let's say instead of me going and interacting with this remote, making it to change this color, why don't I use an alternate way? Why don't I use a voice search? Hey, change it to yellow. User flow is cut. Instead of one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, why don't I just have one step? Hey, change it to yellow color. Hey Siri, change it to yellow color. See, the seventh step has become almost two steps. The point in which you understand this, you will be able to design an alternate path for your user. That's it, guys. If you understand till now, type you in the chat box in the YouTube when you're watching it. Type you, because this should be really important for you. When you understand this, only whatever I'm going to be telling you now, it will go inside. Or else you will have to watch it one more time and come back. Nothing wrong. Do it. Okay. Your projects, whatever you did already in your courses, in your institute, you must have paid a lot of money in your courses and certification. But people don't understand this main concept easily. It is not about building a lot of projects in Behance. It's about understanding the project, what your users are going through, and have you mapped it properly before taking a decision. This will make you really become a better designer, not just a screen builder. There are four layers towards it. First is entry point. If you want to really map a journey properly, I mean the user flow properly, you need to understand what is your entry point, where your users begins with a login screen homepage. What are the action your user is going to take? Click, fill, scroll, choose. What is the decision your user will make in order to take that yes or no? And what are the exit points? Where your journey ends, confirmation, logout screen, and success message. That's it. This is the four components of this user flow mapped. I'll explain you a case study. Let's take one example of a user flow, which is like opening a home screen and you can just go into your product. or maybe you can do a checkout page. So you can do a lot of things. Like let's say if I open the Miro app, okay, I can also give you a complete walkthrough of how you can also try seeing it in a whole new different way. Okay. Before going into the Miro, you can also open Chat GPT to understand what kind of a user flow you wanted to map. You can use Chat GPT latest version and anything, whatever you have. In Chat GPT, you can use this option called dictate, where you can dictate this option. Hey, I wanted to understand the user flow for a payment application for Razorpay. Could you please map out clearly and provide me the output? I want to study the user flow very detailedly because I wanted to redesign this user flow. For that, I needed the existing system. Can you provide me? See, I'm using a voice search very quickly to understand the context, what user flow is really doing. Just press the center. That's it. You don't have to even use ChatGPT 5. Even basic models 4o is enough to understand this. Okay. Meanwhile, I'll also open up our Miro product. Okay. I'm using the Miro template. Okay. But I will understand what exactly is user flow for Razorpay, right? Can all of you see here? So in Razorpay, the user taps pay for the checkout, right or not? Any application typically happens like this. I'm just taking an example of Razorpay. You can check for GPay and all these things. Okay. So the merchant server, it creates the order via API to receive it, map it into the internal system. They're talking about the coding and programming, but you can be even more simpler also. Okay. Okay. You can just make a very simple option also. Make it simple user flow for me to understand. Because the chat GPT-5 is a very research grade intelligence, so you will get a very deeper answer. Sometimes for freshers who are watching this video, you will not be able to understand. But the context is okay. Let it generate fully. I'll also show you how it can be taken into consideration. Okay, fine. Let it generate, no problem. Simple output also we want. But before that, let's see this. Your user, your merchant application or server, your user, how he is going to pick the decision towards using Razorpay, check-in, check-out, and how the issuer is going to integrate this API into the backend server to fetch the bank details, and how the server is going to act like a webhook to transfer your payment. This is exactly happening at the product side. When you take it as a user side, you also tend to understand the user decides to transact the money, right or not? He creates the payment link and he send it to the receiver via email or anything. Okay, like if you're a vendor, if you're designing a SaaS-based platform, and Razorpay represents many methods for the transaction for the user. So the user decides what kind of a call to action he wants. He wants to click credit card or debit card or UPI or anything, and then the user checks that option, and then he presses this key or password or whatever he's having, or the username whatever he's putting, and then he's going to take the transaction done. And once the transaction is done, automatically company gets the process. So this is a backend and the user journey, I mean user flow. Let's understand from a simple point of view. See, initially when you open up a payment, your user will know whether he wants to pay or he want to just check out. This is the user action, right? And also the user gets to understand it's a card payment, UPI, net banking, whatever I explained to you, I'm just breaking down into steps in a EMI or a wallet way. Third, how he wants to use the payment method, like let's say with respect to UPI method or maybe some other option via a card. Fourth is a authentication. Like let's say what kind of an authentication you wanted to build it. Like let's say you wanted to build a two OTP two face authentication, or you wanted to build a four place authentication, because some application has a protected password system, some application has a protected with a thumbprint, I. So whatever is your facial recognition, so it can be done. Fifth is payment success message. How will the user get notified? Because ultimately the user is going through all the process, he needs to get notified, right? So that notification is very important, and then confirmation, and then you can have. So this is existing user flow what is there, right? It's clear. Okay, Jagdish, how should I easily map it? You can do one thing. If you want to visually map it, there are many AI tools also you can use it. Like let's say I can click this option in the Miro and I can close this. Let's say if you want a user flow, I can also use it in a very easier way. Okay, if I click user flow template in Miro, you will get it. You can manually do it, not a problem. Like let's say you can use a manual template so that you can find it out. Can you see? This is how my first user will click like. This is my second user. This is the decision what he makes. If he takes a decision to click, the screen will open. If he makes a no decision, the screen will remain here. If he is succeeding, the success screen will show here. So this is like a flow of the user what you're mapping. Let's say it can be even done in a more accelerated way. You want to see how? Click this option called create with AI. Okay. When you click this create with AI, you can use this option called diagram or mind map. Can all of you see here? You can just click this option and you can just put this prompt. How would you like to diagram it? I want to use it like a flow chart, right? And in a few words, could you describe it? I'm describing it. Hitting enter. Can all of you see here? Can all of you see here? Let me delete this part. Not required. Okay. Look at this. AI is generating the user flow which you are tend to design very manually. Can all of you see here? It's coming, right? It's really fast and it's coming. See, the user will click to pay now. Once the merchant creates the order ID, this is exactly the Razorpay checkout page happens. Once the display option shows, the user selects the method. The user gets into UPI, card, net banking, wallet, and once the user clicks the credentials and authentication done, then the payments get redirected. Once the payment get redirected, success message goes. If the payment shows failure, no message goes. Then it will trigger another loop of retry payment with the alternate link. Can all of you understand what is mean by user flow better now? It can be done very easily. You can do it manually also. You can just go to online. You can just find the existing. You can do existing flows of payment, and you can see. See, you can take any app. You can take the GPay. You can take PhonePay. You can take Paytm. You can understand this flow manually. You can install it in your phone. You can just try to see how the user flow is mapped. You can do it manually, but you can also use the power of AI tools to generate it in an even more faster way. Look at the prompt what I'm going to be giving. Hey, could you please compare all the payment applications with respect to India in UPI, in PhonePay, in GPay, in Razorpay, and all the options and provide a comparative tabular column format output? What is the user flow these competitors are having? I need to see it in one go. Based on which I need to decide what kind of a user flow I can create alternatively so that my users can able to achieve the same goal in a very lesser steps. Take all the Indian payment application data, compare their user flow in a tabular column format, and provide me the output. Can all of you see here? I'm doing literally a work of 1 hour by just using a small prompt. This is a specificity of using ChatGPT and AI tools along with the Miro. Why? Because you can save much of your heavy lifting and work. See, whenever you're using this kind of a heavy prompt, you have to use this option called thinking. Why? Because ChatGPT 5 thinks in a particular way to scrape through all the information available in the market, all the user flows which this particular products have been mapped existing in the market products, and it will scrape through all the information and it will provide you. It will also give you a comparison based output because I've given this prompt in a way to compare it. Remember one thing, when you're giving the prompt, you should be able to give a specific way of output how you want. And when you use this research based intelligence, and then when you click this option, you tend to see a far more different output compared to the guy who is using the chat GPT normally with you. If you're still with me, type WM in the chat box. Yes, Jagdish, I understood user flow. I understood the AI prompt also what you've given. Now I'm also going to try it out. I understand. I understand. Type U in the chat box. You need to know how these things are happening because a very complex user flow. I've tried to explain it very easily in a way. Like let's say you can bring this canvas and you can edit it. Nobody's going to stop you. You can keep on editing it. You can do whatever you want. Why? Because this is actually a Miro tool which is inside AI is built, and you can modify this entirely. And also you can make it into a focus mode, and you can also show it to your customer. You can also show it to your interviewer. You can also bring the clarity over it. So now look at the output what we got. So ChatGPT 5 research-based intelligence is finding out all the steps my user is going through. So can you see here? Google Pay has this much steps, 5 to 6 steps. Phone Pay has 3 to 4 steps. For Paytm is 3 to 4 steps. As Amazon Pay is 3 to 4. BIM application is 4 to 5. Can all of you see that? Phone Pay is having a little lesser flow. Why? Because they have connected all of this backend application through an API in a more simplistic way. So your user is going to get less frustrated. Wonderful, right? By sitting in front of just a tool, by giving the right prompts, now you're able to do a lot of secondary research data quickly done. And ChatGPT is also going to give you an inference. What this shows is UPI intent from a merchant checkout often takes only 3 to 4 steps, but an NFC tap takes a little bit of more time, but as well as it is a little minimal friction for the person who is getting the payment on the other end, something like a razor pay and other payment links, right? And this is what exactly the source with the chat gpt scan through. So please make sure you as a designer has to credit the tool or credit the source or credit the competitors whom you have taken as a reference. That's the ethics sides of the designer, and you need to copy paste it in the site when you're doing a documentation. And this is a heuristic analysis. So I hope now everybody is able to understand what is mean by user flow better. Your decision, your alternate path, your dead end. Everything can be now decided for your user based on this. Like let's say what does mean by decision node? Your user takes card payment or alternate UPI. What is alternate path? Let's say if the product is expired, how else you can go for the alternate? You can design the alternate user flow for it. If the payment is failing, you can design the alternate flow where he can give you an alternate payment link to make the payment. Your UPI can also suggest, hey, why don't you try again? If you can see many payment application will come like that. What is the dead end? Unavailable pin code show. So you will have to understand there is a dead end also needed for a user flow. Why? Because it is to show the message that this is not possible. Right or not? Then the user will get a clarity. So without flow clarity, a simple purchase can make into a miserable nightmare for many designers. So this is exactly the thing. I gave you the demo. I gave you literally the demo, and then I showed you the whiteboard. I showed you how the task flows are coming. I used the Miro. You can use it in FigJam also, and you can also create a beautiful output on yourself. I think I've showed you the tools what I used, which is called ChatGPT, which is called Miro. You can also try with Whimsical. You can also try with FlowMap. Please utilize this. These are all the wonderful application which can create a clean user flow diagram. A UX mapping can be done. In fact, you can do it for a persona mapping inside the Miro, and you can also generate your auto user flows, something I used also to chat gpt to interact and get the output. You can also brainstorm alternate flows with your team. Possible. Hey, why don't we make this 3 steps into 2 steps? You can do it. Why don't we just activate, hey, gpay application, open and sign in with my facial id. Done. Transact 500 rupees to my payee, Mr. Satish. It could happen in the future, right? Definitely it's happening. By the time you're speaking, people are thinking agentic based AI is going to work in your products and services to make the things very easy for you. The user flow is even more easier for you. The user flow becomes even more optimal for you. So the more and more optimal you're able to bring your user flow, the less frustration your user will go through. I'll tell you why it is very important. See, human brains are very, very wired to seek clarity and always to close the gap what we are creating. When a confusion is created, user always tends to get clarity, right? Because our mental load increases when you don't give a clarity towards your user. Your user gets very frustrated if he's using the app where the user flow is very confusing. And what happens is your mental load increases with more decision making, and your clear user flow reduces the decision fatigue. Yes, and also it gives you a predictability flow, which gives you more satisfaction to your user, more satisfaction, more dopamine, feeling good like a neurochemistry. Poor user flow gets you frustration, rack clicks, abandonment happens. See, how many of you can see the neuroscience behind it? This is very important. You need to understand the drop offs in the checkout page is happening 70% because of the e-commerce platforms. Baymad has said that rage clicks due to unbroken flow is 22% in the mobile application. Onboarding flow drops to 42% in a SaaS-based application sourced by Amplitude. Most applications users lose 40 to 60% of a user in the first step or second step. See, you need to understand this. You are a product manager. You are a UX designer. You are maybe an intern, but the responsibility you have is far more different to create the impact for the people through the product. I'll tell you how it can be useful for your interview. In interview, you can explain your logic clearly and explain to the user, explain to the recruiter in a more easier way when you have a user flow mapped. More importantly, user flow will explain your complex projects in your portfolio also very easily, right? In interview, the whiteboarding is equal to pass or fail. People will decide whether you are going to really, really explain. I do it very extensively for my students in a live breakdown session where I ask them to explain their projects in few minutes. I ask them to open their portfolio and explain in just 2 minutes, where the people really feel frustrated initially, but the students eventually learn. Explaining easily with the user flow is very, very vital to crack interview, to penetrate the communication easily to the recruiter. If you wanted to really to learn all these things in a proper way, why don't you just sign up for my upcoming workshop and also see the Sunday workshop which is coming on this Sunday. You can see how I'm also putting all these things into a job based portfolio where you can get hired for an industry, where you can increase your salary being a 3x designer who are stuck in the mid level with 15-20 lpa, not able to get 30-40 lpa. You can also use the strategy to pitch yourself into high paying product roles also if your user flow and understanding towards a product is very easy. So click the link below to also come to my upcoming workshop to put all of these learnings into an extensive way. Connect agentic AI tools to also build your user flow better and faster and efficient and accurate to communicate very clearly to get hired. End of the day, that matters a lot, because in real job, the flow helps you to hand off to the product managers very easily. If you're not able to show that, then many people will not resonate with you. Use this book, use this article called Nielsen Norman Group, User Flow versus Task Flow. It's very important journal. And also I've suggested you this book, Hudson and Payla. And you can also read this Flow Design for UX by Jorge Arango. I did not do it, but you can try it out. Okay. And also there is some kit available for you if you DM me in the chat box. Hey Jagdish, I understood this context. And what's your top learnings? If I see that your top learnings is there in the chat box, our team will automatically send you a user flow mapped journey and the file also which I've created in the Miro for you as a gift. You can download this from your chat box and also join our Sunday upcoming workshop. The link is pasted below, and also bring your portfolio in that workshop. I'll be able to more than happily review a live audit if you're selected as a winner in that live workshop. And comment flow to get ready to get this chat sheet along with your learnings, and DM me yes in Instagram if you're seeing it in Instagram, and watch this video fully. I hope this flow is very clear for you to understand what is meant by user flow. In order to summarize, user flow is the context of a skeletal body of your product. It's exactly the neuron system of your body. It's exactly the neuron system of your product. It's exactly the connectedness of your users with the product and their journey. If you're not able to create the simple user flow, your user will get frustrated. Take care, all the best. I'll see you in the day 3 with even more interesting topic.